trip. It wasn't just a vacation. It was my way of saying thank you to the woman who raised me, my mom, Sophia. She was turning 59, and I wanted to do something unforgettable. Not just a dinner or a gift card, something bigger. Something that showed her how deeply I appreciated everything she had sacrificed for me over the years. I'd been saving for months, setting aside every bonus, canceling my own plans, even skipping weekends out with friends. I had spreadsheets, a Pinterest board, alerts set for flight deals. I knew her dream had always been to see the beaches of Hawaii, the soft sand, the warm sunsets, the ukulele music floating in the air. So I quietly planned everything behind the scenes. 5 nights in a private oceanfront villa, flights for the whole family, spot A bookings, even dinner at this famous cliffside restaurant I knew she'd love. I could already imagine the look on her face when I told her, her eyes lighting up like they did when I surprised her with flowers as a kid. She'd always worked so hard, and for once I wanted her to just relax, be taken care of. I wanted her to feel like someone was thinking of her for a change. And I didn't do this lightly. It cost me $15,600, more than I'd ever spent on anything in my life. But every penny felt worth it because I believed, no, I knew it would mean something to her. The only people I told were my older brother Adam and his wife, Kelly, because I wanted to check their dates. And even though I was footing the bill for everyone, I was excited, not resentful. I thought this would be a moment we'd all remember forever, as a family. I didn't know then that it would become unforgettable for an entirely different reason. Because the moment I received that one text, everything I'd built, everything I felt shattered. And that's where it all truly began. It was 2 weeks before the trip. I had just gotten off a long shift at work, still buzzing with the quiet kind of excitement that comes from knowing something good is just around the corner. I stopped by a coffee shop, got myself a vanilla latte, and sat by the window, smiling as I imagined Mom on that white sand beach, cocktail in hand, finally resting. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Kelly, Adam's wife. No greeting, no warmth, just one sentence. We gave your spot to your brother's wife. She's more fun. At first, I blinked, thinking maybe I'd misread it. Maybe it was some weird autocorrect mistake. But no, it was clear, final, cold. I stared at the words, my fingers numb against the warm cup in my hands. She's more fun. That part echoed, mocked me. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there, frozen, as people moved past me like shadows. I read it again and again, like my brain refused to believe that someone could say something like that so casually, as if I were a throwaway, expendable, replaceable. And in that moment, it wasn't just about the trip. It was about every single time I'd been made to feel like the extra, the boring one, the responsible sister, the one who cleaned up after parties, not the one people invited to them. I remembered birthdays where Adam got all the attention because he was louder, more outgoing. I remembered being told, lighten up, Alina, like caring too much was a flaw. I remembered Kelly joking once, you're like the mom of the group, no offense. And everyone laughed except me. And now this. No phone call. No explanation. Just a single sentence like a slap in the face. I thought about everything I had done, the months of work, the money, the details. All of it wiped away like it meant nothing. And worst of all, Mom said nothing. No follow-up message. No, honey, let me talk to you. Just silence. That silence that hurt more than anything. It was the kind of pain that didn't scream. It just sank. Quiet. Heavy. Deep. I looked at my phone one more time. My heart pounding. My face burning. And I typed back only 2 words. Got it. Then I put my phone down, stared out the window, and began to plan something else entirely. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, phone screen glowing dimly in the dark, staring at the message over and over again, as if the words might rearrange themselves. As if maybe in the middle of the night, someone would realize what they had done and text back. Sorry, that was a mistake. Of course you're coming. We didn't mean it. But nothing came. Just silence. That's when something inside me started to shift. Slowly at first. Not an explosion. Not a breakdown. More like a quiet snapping of something I didn't even know was holding me together. Because for comparisons, the subtle digs masked as jokes. I had let people paint me as the uptight one, the overthinker, the one who was always too serious, never quite fun enough. And for what? So they could casually erase me from my own plan? I opened my email, hands trembling, heart racing, and just sat there, staring at the flight confirmation. 4 round-trip tickets to Maui, paid in full. And there was my name, the organizer, the payer, the planner. I hovered over the cancel booking button, and in that moment, 1,000 thoughts rushed in. What if Mom is disappointed? What if Adam gets angry? What if they all turn this around on me? What if I'm being too emotional? But then another voice, a quieter one I hadn't listened to in years. What if you finally chose yourself? So I clicked. Cancel flights. Confirm. Cancel hotel. Confirm. Cancel spa day, dinner reservations, car rental. Confirm. 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 With every confirmation email that hit my inbox, my chest grew lighter. Not happier, just clearer. I didn't throw my phone across the room. I didn't scream or cry. I just sat back in my chair, staring at the soft blue glow of my laptop screen, breathing deeper than I had in days, maybe even years. Because this wasn't about revenge. Not yet. This was about reclaiming the space I had shrunk myself to fit into. They had shown me where I stood in their eyes. An afterthought, a placeholder, the girl who plans but never gets invited. And now I was done pretending I didn't notice. The bookings were gone. The trip was off. But the story? It was just beginning. Because if they thought they could erase me from the picture and still enjoy the frame I built for them, they were about to learn that even quiet girls have limits. And mine had just been crossed. They left 3 days later, all smiles and hashtags. Mom posted a blurry picture at the airport with a caption that read, "Off to paradise with my favorite people." My name wasn't mentioned. Not even a wish you were here. Adam sent a photo of Kelly clinking champagne glasses with him in first class. Her legs kicked up, all drama and flair. Thanks again, sis. This was such a great idea. No winking emoji. Just arrogance. They really believed they were going on my trip. They really thought I'd just sit here and swallow it. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly know, was that I had spent the last 72 hours making moves. Silent ones. The first thing I did was call Mr. Behrman, the landlord. I had been paying part of Mom's rent for over a year now. Something no one ever talked about, of course. It was just expected. I asked if he'd consider putting the lease in my name only. He hesitated. I offered to pay the next 6 months in advance. Done. Then I politely asked if he'd be willing to do a little market adjustment on the rent. After all, prices had gone up. He agreed, a 40% increase, effective immediately. I paid the difference up front. Second move, the locks. I called a locksmith I trusted. He came that night, changed every bolt and barrel. I handed him the new keys, labeled in tiny handwriting, for me only. Third move, the bank accounts. See, Mom had once added me as a co-signer when she was sick, just to help her manage online banking. She never removed me. She probably forgot. I didn't. I didn't touch the savings. I account, the one she and Adam used like it was an open bar. And then I waited. Quietly. Calmly. No texts. No hints. I cleaned the apartment, rearranged the living room, donated half the junk they left lying around. I replaced the old coffee mugs with new ones. Black ceramic, matte finish. Clean. Controlled. And every time I looked around, I felt something settle inside me. Not peace exactly, but power. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting to be invited in. I wasn't begging to be seen. I was preparing methodically, intentionally for their return. They thought I said, got it, and moved on. But no, what I meant was got it. Now watch. And while they were posting beach selfies and sipping pina coladas, I was setting the stage for an entirely different kind of show. They had no idea what was coming, but they would. Soon. They returned on a Tuesday evening. I knew the exact flight. I even tracked it online, watching that little plane icon inch across the Pacific like it was floating toward its own karma. When the Uber pulled up in front of the building, I was sitting inside with a hot mug of tea, not even peeking through the blinds. I didn't need to see them to imagine the scene. Mom would step out first, floral print hoodie, flip-flops, dragging her suitcase like she just conquered the world. Adam would carry way too many duty-free bags, trying to look important. And Kelly, oh, she'd be in full vacation glow mode. Tan lines, new sunglasses, probably still wearing a Maui Vibes tank top. They walked up to the front door of the apartment building like they owned the place. But when Mom pulled out her keys and tried to unlock the main door, it didn't budge. She jiggled it again. Frowned. Maybe it's stuck, she muttered. Adam tried next. Did you change something? He texted me. I left it on read. Kelly rolled her eyes. It's probably the humidity. Door swell. Still, the key wouldn't turn. 10 minutes passed. They buzzed every neighbor they knew. No answer. I had pre-warned everyone. Ignore any buzzes Tuesday evening. Just trust me. Eventually, they gave up and walked to the cafe across the street. The same one Mom always bragged about. They know me here. I never have to say my order. She smiled at the barista, gave her usual, and swiped her card with confidence. Declined. She tried again. And again. Declined. Ma'am, do you have another card? The barista asked politely, trying to stay professional. Adam leaned over, confused. That's weird. Try mine. His decline too. Now the smile started to crack. Mom pulled out her phone, fingers trembling, scrolling through her banking app. She whispered under her breath, What the hell? Why is everything frozen? And then, like a cherry on top, Kelly spotted something taped to the building door when they walked back. A legal envelope. Big, bold print. Notice of lease adjustment. She pulled it off, read it aloud. As of this month, leaseholder has changed. Rent has been increased by 40% to reflect updated market value. Her voice trailed off. Leaseholder. Adam snapped. Who the hell is the leaseholder? And that's when the final nail hit. They realized. Mom stared at the paper, then looked up at the windows, as if trying to figure out if I was watching. I was. From the kitchen. Come. Still sipping my tea. They tried calling me. I let it ring. Then I got a message from Adam. What did you do? I just typed one sentence back. Got my spot back. And that's when the panic really began, because the vacation was over and real life had come home to greet them. Sitting in that now silent apartment, I finally allowed myself to feel everything I'd buried for years. Not just what happened this week, but what had been happening my entire life. People think betrayal happens in one sharp moment, one text, one decision. But for me, it was slow, a quiet erosion, 1,000 little cuts. I was always the boring one, not loud like Adam, not charming like Kelly. I didn't dance at weddings or make dramatic toasts at dinner parties. I was the one who cleaned up afterward, who made sure Grandma took her meds. Mom used to laugh when I brought books on family vacations. You and your thoughts, she'd say, patting my head like I was some lost puppy. There were birthday dinners I wasn't invited to. It was last minute, they'd say. You're always so busy. We figured you wouldn't come anyway. Inside jokes I never understood because they were formed in rooms I wasn't in. Once at a holiday dinner, I offered to make dessert. I baked a triple-layer lemon cake from scratch. Took me 6 hours. No one touched it. Kelly had brought store-bought cheesecake, and they raved about it all night. Mom looked at me and said, You try too hard sometimes, sweetheart. I laughed, nodded, pretended it didn't sting. But it always did. This Hawaii trip, it wasn't just a vacation. It was me trying one last time. To show her, look, I thought of everything. I booked the suite with the ocean view because you love the sound of waves. I found the luau that does gluten-free options. I planned around your birthday. It was my way of saying, pick me this time. See me. But they didn't. They chose Kelly. Again. Because she's more fun. And I wasn't even surprised. That's the part that broke me. I didn't cry because it was unexpected. I cried because it wasn't. And sitting there, with every light in the apartment dimmed low, I realized something painful and freeing at the same time. This trip didn't break my heart. It revealed the cracks that had always been there. They called me too sensitive. But maybe I was just finally awake. Finally done begging to belong to people who were never looking for me in the first place. And this time, I wasn't asking for a seat at the table. I was taking the whole damn table back. I wasn't broken. Not anymore. There was a moment, though, just after the panic set in when I thought maybe I was. I sat there in the stillness, watching them scramble, watching them try to hold it all together, the way they always did, hiding behind fake smiles and empty apologies. And for a second, I almost felt sorry for them. But that wasn't who I was anymore. I was done being the afterthought, done being the backup plan, the one you call when everyone else has already had their fun. I was done trying to make a family who had never been able to see me as anything more than a quiet nuisance. I could feel something shifting in me. The fear, the self-doubt, the years of second-guessing everything about myself. All of it melted away piece by piece. I didn't need to beg for their attention. I didn't need to fight to earn a place at the table. I wasn't fighting for scraps anymore. I was taking control. And I wasn't just doing it with words. I was doing it with actions. It started with the property, the place where they had laughed about my boring nature, my safe, stable life. The apartment I helped them move into, they had no idea that I'd quietly purchased it. A few months ago, using a limited liability company I set up under a different name. I kept it all under the radar. I wasn't about to let them know I had something they could never take away. The keys to their little world were now in my hands. So I made a phone call. I tripled the rent. Legally. When the new lease agreement arrived in their inbox, they called me frantic. "What is this?" Mom's voice trembled on the other end. "Just a little change," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, calm. The market adjusted. "How could you do this?" Kelly asked, already crying. You can't do this to us." I heard the desperation in her voice, and for a brief second, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in years. Guilt. But it disappeared quickly. "Actually, I can," I told her. "I own this place now. All of it. The lease is in my name, and your spot is no longer guaranteed." There was a long silence on the line. I knew they were trying to process the gravity of what I had just said, but I didn't care. I hung up. Then I turned to their credit cards, the ones I had helped open back when I was still family, the ones I'd supported when they bought things they didn't need, when they went on vacations they didn't earn. I froze them all, every last one. I was no longer the helpful sister or the supportive daughter. I wasn't the one who picked up the slack, who paid bills or rearranged my schedule just to make them happy. I was done being their fallback plan. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their validation. I had my own world now, and for once it was on my terms. And as I walked past the coffee shop that had once been a symbol of my own invisibility, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. They'd always treated me like I was the invisible one, the boring one. But now I was in control. And they were about to see just how much things could change when someone finally decided to take their power back. They thought it was over, but I knew it wasn't. I could hear them trying to reach out. Calls, texts, voicemails. They flooded my phone, each one more desperate than the last. But it was too late. It was too late for apologies, too late for explanations. I didn't need them anymore. I had everything I needed. But the universe, as always, had a few more twists left in store. It started when I saw the email, the one from my brother's wife. Kelly, in all her enthusiasm, had applied for a job at the company I had recently bought. Her resume was plastered across the screen, her bubbly personality shining through the words. I almost laughed. The irony was too thick. She had no idea who owned the company now. She didn't know that the very thing she'd always overlooked me for was the thing that had made me strong, the thing that had built my empire. I clicked open her resume, casually sipping my coffee, savoring the quiet power I felt. She was applying for a position in a department I managed directly. I could almost hear the sound of her smile through the words on her resume. Her request for a position in marketing seemed so naive. I hit reply. "You're welcome to interview," I typed, "but I will be upfront with you. I'm not sure if you'd be a good fit." And I hit send. Later that day, Mom called. "Alina, please. I just want to talk. I'm sorry. I've been a terrible mother, a terrible person." Her voice quivered. She sounded broken. I wanted to feel sorry for her. I really did. I wanted to hear her out, to tell her that everything was okay, that we could move past this. But the words just didn't come. I stayed silent for a moment, letting her wait, feeling the weight of the years we'd spent silently unraveling. I didn't forgive her. Not yet. And maybe never. You don't get to ask for forgiveness, Mom, I finally said, my voice steady but cold. You've already had your chance. I gave it to you, over and over again. But you and Dad always chose Kelly. Always chose Adam. And now you want me to just forget it. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. I'm sorry, Alina. I didn't realize how much I hurt you. Don't, I interrupted. You didn't hurt me, Mom. You ignored me. You overlooked me. You let me fall through the cracks while you worshipped your perfect children. You wanted me to be someone I'm not. And when I didn't fit your mold, you left me behind. I let the words hang in the air, heavy and undeniable. And then I smiled. The smile wasn't for her. It wasn't even for me. It was for the years of silence of trying to earn their love. It was for all the times I had wanted them to notice me. It was for the little girl inside me who was still afraid of rejection. Goodbye, Mom, I said, my voice calm but resolute. You'll never truly understand, but that's okay. I've learned enough. I don't need your approval anymore. I hung up. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't an attack. It was the last bit of closure I needed to move on. And then I got the notification. Kelly's application had been rejected. I didn't feel satisfaction. Not exactly. But I did feel something, a quiet victory. A confirmation that when you finally stop letting the world walk all over you, life has a way of teaching those who never saw you. I walked to the window, looking out at the city that was now mine. The soft hum of traffic, the distant laughter from the park below, everything felt different. I wasn't the person I had been a few months ago, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting its golden light across my world, I knew that what they hadn't seen in me before was now impossible to ignore. The past was over, and the future? It was all mine.